Okay, fellas, let's do the Ryan Goodman and Tagway Along for the Ride pod. Top stories. Steph is king of the three, and Danny Ainge has another job. Shocking. I can't wait to hear your opinions on that. But first, I have to tell you, these days it can be hard to find and hire the right candidate for a small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has made it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, and use screening questions to get your role in front of only the most qualified. That's linkedin.com/scribe to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/scribe. Nearly every week, 40 million people, 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn. Okay. All right, Bob Ryan, I got a lot to talk to you about this with the three. So Steph does it. He breaks the record. We knew it was going to happen over Ray Allen. Since you despise the actual shot, what was your, to your core, your emotion at the moment he broke it?
Well, I got a phone call from my daughter telling me he had broken it. I was at a little gathering of people at that particular evening, and she told me he did it in the first period, and then I've seen the shot and all that fine.
Yeah. See, Jeff, excuse me, Jeff, he couldn't be bothered. You know, it was the three.
No, it was a conflict. I couldn't. It wasn't.
He was down in. I think he was down in near Wake Forest. Were you?
No,
not?
I was back. That's the day I came back.
Okay.
I was at a Globe gathering. Okay, we have an annual Globe Sports Department gathering, and I was there. Right. Okay, that's where I was. Okay. Inevitable, as we all knew. I love the symmetry of Reggie being there when he was there when Ray broke his record 11 years ago, and Ray was there and Reggie was there, and that was kind of cute. And of course, all the Currys were there, and that. Boy, did he take it seriously. I just find it interesting. He already had the 2974 hat. He's been wearing 2974 in the sneakers. He said, now it proves I'm the best shooter. I got validation. Well, wow, he's taking it seriously. So we know this is his identity. He knows it, and he's going to thrive and live off this for his entire life. Okay, look, you know how I feel. He's the best shooter of all time. No one has ever been able to get a shot off with regularity from that kind of distance the way he has. Ray was a catch and shoot guy. Reggie was a catch and shoot guy. He's a clear space guy. He can do anything you want. He can catch and shoot. He can get his own shot to the degree. Okay, so he's a phenomenon. He's fantastic, and I know that. So in that sense, I just wish that the three didn't exist, but and we can talk about that. But the point is, is he the best exponent of it? Is he the most associated person, most associated with it? Absolutely. And now I want to say one thing. He's becoming more and more of a volume shooter. Do you know that he's shooting the lowest percentage of his career this year?
No, I didn't know that.
No, you didn't know that, did you? Well, I looked it up. And the morning after, he's shooting .399 this year, going into tonight in Boston. And
that's still pretty good, Bob. Robert.
For him, it's his lowest of any full season. He had that one truncated season a couple years ago.
Well, he also doesn't have Klay Thompson near him, so
yeah. So
he's got injury.
By the way, his brother is actually shooting exactly as well. Career, not that, and better this year. By the way, Daddy, by the way, was a 40% shooter at a time when that was really extraordinary.
Yeah.
So they are the first family of three. There is no question about that. So. What do you want to know?
Jeff, what do you think?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, listen, the one thing I'll say about Steph, and here's, I feel like he is the superstar in any league that has changed the least. And I'm going to the game tonight. It's not often I fork over big money, but I'm taking my daughter because I don't know how many more opportunities there are going to be for her to see Steph, when he's healthy, when he's playing at a high level. I know he's shooting the worst percentage of his career, according to Bob, which is still better than 99% of the humans out there. But I'm paying big money for it because there aren't many people that I will pay big money to see. And I'm doing it for my daughter as much as anything, but Steph is one of them. Not only because of what he does on the court, but I think he's about as classy and again, has changed the least of any superstar in any league that I've been around. Now, again, I haven't been around everybody, but I will match him, put him up against anybody. for the most part. I'm trying to think, guys, who are those guys? Because in the NBA, there aren't many. Like Kevin Durant has changed. I've seen it in front of my eyes, right? Like Kevin Durant was the most humble dude ever. And I never thought he'd be going at dudes on Twitter, talking shit to fans, dropping F-bombs during games for saying virtually nothing to him. He's changed. I think a lot of the other guys have. Steph Curry, to me, has not changed very much. Yes, he celebrates a little bit more than he used to on the court with a little wiggle and those types of things and yells. But for the most part, Steph's not bitching and moaning to the refs every play, and he handles himself with a lot of class. Who are the guys that you guys can think of that are at that level in other sports?
I was going to say, other sports, but I was going to say, to me, the last guy that was as likable overall, not to Celtic fans, but Magic Johnson. I mean, Magic Johnson was great for the league. We know Larry and Magic, Bob knows this better than anybody, but Larry and Magic, were great for the league because of the rivalry and so forth. But, Larry wasn't really a salesman. Magic was a great salesman. I mean, look, you guys have talked to Magic. He's a wonderful guy.
Unbelievable.
Wonderful guy.
Yeah.
They're nice guys,
But Magic was a promoter. Steph Curry is not.
Well, wait a minute. Hold the phone. You just heard Bob say what he's got the hat and the sneakers with the number on it. I mean,
yeah, this was a little bit different. I think he bought into this a little bit more than we thought he would.
Well, who does it now? I mean, for God's sakes, right. Brady. The other day, Brady released that he has a clothing line coming out called Brady.
Oh, Brady!
I mean, they all do it.
Brady's he's on a totally other level. He's taking it to an extreme. Yes. I'll give you an answer to your question, Jeff. Yeah. And you mentioned his name, and trust me, I watched this evolution from the embryonic stages. Larry changed for the better. The first time I met Larry Bird was an arranged interview for a story in Us magazine in the summer of 1979. And at his insistence, the interview was at Bob Wolf's house. He was not going to, and he laid down the ground rules that he will do his. I'm picking words. I'm paraphrasing. He will do his due diligence. He will do what is required for him to meet with the media at the times when you're supposed to meet with the media. But I don't want anybody coming to my house. I don't want this. I don't want that. He's made it clear they're going to be real strict boundaries. Okay. 9 years later, in 1988, I wrote a cover story for the Boston Globe Sunday magazine called "The Blossoming of Larry Bird." It was how Larry Bird had evolved into this raconteur, into this media manipulator, into this absolutely comfortable person enjoying his jousts with the media. You remember probably, Gary, the press conferences at the finals in '87, '88. Larry was holding court. This was unimaginable in 1979, and so he evolved. And if he really. And he appreciated the NBA. He wasn't quite the overt ambassador, as Jeff has said, that Magic was, but he understood that the NBA gave him a forum that, and he appreciated it, that the NBA, how it was run, and he spoke highly of the commissioner and all that. Anyway, Larry did change. Larry grew up. He grew up in public. And, I used to kid him. I said, Larry Bird was always intelligent, but I said he successfully evaded the American educational system. And if you went to French Lick, as I did, and understood and got to understand the culture that he grew up in southwestern Indiana, in that county, Orange County, you'd understand, that if it weren't for basketball and what it brought for him and did for him to give him exposure to the world, he'd just be another guy hanging around, pumping gas, hunting and fishing. And living his entire life and never going more than 50 miles from home.
Yeah, working on
what Larry didn't do, Bob, was play in the age of social media, and neither did Wayne Gretzky, neither did Derek Jeter. Right. All those guys that I think again stayed about as humble as they could, but again, it's just so much tougher to do it now. I mean, again, I go back to Kevin Durant. Sparring with fans. And again, I like part of it that he's engaging with fans, but it's such a different time now. And I think for Steph to be as beloved as he is, And I don't know how many people, I mean, you never hear a bad word about him. I'll walk in the locker room, and I'm not going as a member of the media tonight, but anytime I walk in the locker room, first thing, Steph's, hey, Jeff, how you doing? How's the family? Like, and it's not fake. It's not fake.
I think with Durant, as he's devolved into this strange person at times, that it's hurt his overall appreciation of fans who ought to know how good he is. How he is. I mean, just what he did this week, what he's doing as we speak, the 51 the other night, the needed triple-double when they're down to a bare minimum of, recruiting guys off the street that fill a uniform to make the minimum 8 to play the game. And all right, I'll win. He carried it. And now Steve Nash is saying, I know I can't keep playing him 48. Can't play him 48 minutes here tonight. And that in this day and age is extraordinary. So anyway, but he's not getting. He is so damn good.
He's awesome. But he's not going to. There's no longer a question whether he's
There's no longer a question whether he's a top 10 player. The only question is whether he's a top 5 player of all time. So
if he wins another one, I think he's probably got to win another one to get in that top 5 conversation. But
he's threatening Larry. That's dumb. Now, who's saying this? You wanted me to go grab one of the 15 Larry Bird books I got behind me? I'm Larry's biggest fan, but I'm going to be honest. He's threatening Larry.
Speaking of Larry, I can't remember, Bob, if it was on Twitter. I thought you said something on Twitter about if Larry was playing today, would he be the 3-point king? Because would he average like 5 threes a game?
Yeah, at the most. No, the world was different. All right, let's take a 20 second. The answer is, if you told him today, I want you to take 10 or 12, or 8 or 9 or 10. Oh, no, he'll do it, Now, he wasn't as capable as Steph Curry is of getting that shot at will, and getting as many uncontested ones as you'd like to have, okay, fine. But he thrived in this game in that regard. There was no question, none. There's no ways he was. Let me just say how far we've come, guys. This is just so people put this in perspective. First of all, let's establish this. The rule was introduced into the NBA in 1979. So if you are 50 years old, as you listen to this, if you were 50.
That's me, Bob.
You were 8 years old when that rule came into existence. It's all you know. You do not have a firm recollection of the pre-3 basketball game and how it flowed, and how it was conducted. That's all. Okay. So this is what you know. I understand that now. So, start with that. In 1979-80, they introduced the 3-point shot, which had been a staple of the ABA from its existence in '66. And so into the league came a lot of ABA guys, from the merger. There were and the first 3-point king, the first 3-point king actually was an NBA guy for percentage. It was downtown Freddie Brown, which was quite predictable. We always knew downtown Freddie. He came in with, that's how he got his nickname, right? So he was a born 3-point shooter. He led the league at 4.43. It's really, in today, it's very, very good. You take anybody would take 4.43 percentage, right? The leading volume guy, most takes and most makes, was an ABA expatriate, Brian Taylor. 239 attempts, and he made 90. That led the league, 90. Steph Curry has taken in 27 games this year 134 more shots in 27 games than Brian Taylor took in 80 in 1979. Just 80. I'm just trying to put things in perspective of how we've evolved. That year, the Atlanta Hawks, and Hubie was the coach who had coached in the ABA, but it just shows you where his heart was, okay? The Atlanta Hawks in the 82-game season were 13 for 75 on threes.
That's crazy.
Now,
crazy.
4 years late, the fourth year of the rule in 83-84, okay? The same Atlanta Hawks, this time being coached by Mike Fratello, for 82 games, 4 years into the rule, 23 for 105 for the season.
Wow.
Steph took 17 himself the other night, the night before he went to New York, okay? 2 nights ago. This is how we've come. Teams didn't know what to do with it, it wasn't part of it. I'm just saying so people understand where we've come. But I understand Jeff. Anybody who's 50 years old, it's all you know.
It is. It is. I mean, it's gotten out of control. Again, my big thing is it's gotten out of control where now everybody's jacking it because of the analytics.
Yes, right.
The analytics say.
There are guys that are taken that shouldn't be taken. I mean, Marcus Smart is, the poster child for that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are too many guys taking threes that don't deserve it.
But even worse are the bigs who can't shoot it, right? Like every big thinks they can shoot. Daniel Tice out there with again, Brad Stevens drove me nuts because everybody could shoot the three. We joked on the pod when we had him on. I asked him, I said, if you had Bob Ryan on your team, would you let him shoot the three? And he didn't really answer the question, Bob.
I had 3-point one-hand set range, mostly from the corner.
I think Bob would have had the green light under Brad.
Oh, there's no question. Bob would have had the green light.
But
if Marcus Smart has the green light, anybody has the green light.
Well, they all encouraged. It's the game. All the big men are encouraged to. Yeah, we know that. And so,
and that's the part of the game I hate. Get your ass down on the block. Bob, do you think the game would be as popular today without it as it is now? If
people didn't. Yeah, there's no reason why not. I mean, the game, the Lakers and the Celtics, the way they ran, the way the San Antonio Spurs played in those days, the Denver Nuggets, without the three, and they were, of course they would. It's here. Look, I'm not stupid. I understand why you need to exploit it. It's here, and three is better than two. And if the right people are taking them, this is the Darwin-morification of basketball. No, and three is better than two. I understand that. If it didn't exist, it wouldn't be an issue, though. But we need some balance, But does everybody, as just what Jeff just said, does everybody have to take three? The answer is apparently now. All the bigs are supposed to take three. Stretch four has now evolved into stretch fives. Mm-hmm. And I have a question. What would Kevin McHale's role be today? Would someone actually want him?
I don't know, because again, and I'm not comparing these two. I'm not comparing them at all. This guy's, but Jahlil Okafor, there's no place in the NBA for him right now. He was the number 2 overall pick, one of the best players in college basketball. Again, he's got some other issues. So I'm not comparing him to Kevin McHale in any way, shape, or form. I'm just showing years ago, if Okafor had played 20 years ago, he would average, I'm convinced, 15 points.
Jeff, when I saw him, I said, oh, my God, the best footwork I have seen since, guess who? He was a throwback. And you're right. There is now, right. Well, now, because of him specifically, we don't know, his whatever peccadillos or foibles or why he's not in the league. But that's a very good example. And I mean, what would you do it? Now, the funny thing about Kevin, those are a digression. I don't know if you know this, but I remember this, but he had to take a desperation three in a playoff game against the Pistons, and it went in, and it won the game, or created the overtime, and they won the game. Yeah. A light bulb went off in Kevin's head at that time. This is 88. Boy, this is a lot more comfortable than getting my ass kicked in a low post. And I'm not kidding either. And if you note, he then started incorporating the three into his game with modest success, nothing great, but he could make an occasional one. And he spent the rest of his career, not as much time in the low post as he had before. And I'm telling you, if that one shot doesn't go in to make him a hero, he probably would have stayed in the low post the rest of his life. Anyway, that's a great question you ask, Gary, about would the game be as popular? And the teams I mentioned, I think, would attract interest just as they did then.
And speaking of the three, we know Danny Ainge loved the three, and we'll get to him. But I got to tell you that, do you know what makes LeBron James, King James? Sleep. That's right. Sleep is his superpower. Calm, the number one app for sleep and meditation, has teamed up with LeBron James to help you activate the power of sleep. For LeBron, sleep is a critical part of his mental fitness routine. So if you head to calm.com/scribe, for a limited time, you'll get 40% off a Calm premium subscription. Again, for a limited time, our listeners can join LeBron and use Calm and get a 40% discount on a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/scribe. Unlock content to help you focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Get started at calm.com/scribe. Okay, so we go with Danny, and before we get to Danny going to Utah after his break, I did say one time on the radio, Danny was an overrated three-point shooter. Of course, I was at the Garden last night, and I never heard the end of it on that. Because when I watched Danny, I thought he took too many threes, but whatever. Needless to say. Jeff, I want to start with you on this because I'm wondering if you're hearing something on the ground or any rumblings. Was the fix in with Danny going to Utah, or did he literally take 6 months off and have no clue what he was going to do?
No, I think he knew this was going to be the end game. It was more of when, and he did want to take some time to kind of, tone it down and get everything settled, figure out exactly what his role was going to be with Utah. But listen, it's the guy they have running Utah right now, Justin Zanuck, is not a basketball guy. He's not. I mean, he's a former agent who's been in the NBA for a while, but they mesh together pretty well. And we know Danny, listen, he's buddies with the owner in Utah, played at BYU. It had run its course in Boston. Like, I don't know if he was forced out. People are like, well, he was forced out by Wick and Pagliuca. I don't think he was necessarily forced out. I think he still had a very good relationship with those guys. I think they had a meeting, and it was, listen, probably Danny as much as anything, this thing isn't working. We need to make a change. Everybody knew that at that point. Now, people thought the change was going to be, either a player at that point, which they couldn't trade Tatum or Jaylen Brown, or the coach. And at that point, Brad Stevens was on the hook for too much money. So they figured this whole thing out. And to me, it made sense for everybody involved for the most part, right? Brad gets kind of a blank slate as an executive. Danny gets to take some time off and now go back closer to home and have a franchise that is in better shape right now than the Celtics.
Sure.
So I think, and for health reasons, I think it was the right move for Danny too, because he was working, the hours he was working, he's not going to have to work now because he's got Justin Zanuck with him who can do a lot of the trading and things like that. He could probably manage a little more than be involved in every single decision.
I thought it was just inevitable. That it didn't remotely surprise me that that's where he landed up. I didn't know if it would be a year or not, and but I certainly can't refute anything he said. I'm just not surprised at all. I think it was an appropriate landing plus spot for him, and I think the key ultimately for the position is he doesn't have to go 24/7. He'll figure out the workload and whatever he chooses will be fine with them. He's there. He'll always be available for a phone call. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Even if he's coming off the 18th hole, somewhere. His name resonates in that community.
Well, I feel bad for because I'm a Danny Ainge fan, and I feel that he kind of got a bad rap here in Boston. And I think he made the deal for Kyrie, and anybody would have pulled that trigger. And when Kyrie came, we all thought, okay, geez, he did it again. He did it with Garnett and Ray Allen. Now he's done it with Kyrie, and here we go. Because they had come off 2 Eastern Conference final appearances with the young guys. They get the veteran. We're in business. And then Kyrie just blew up on him the way he's blew up on everybody else. And then I think Danny, Jeff and Bob, I think Danny just said, I can't deal with this. I got to get out of here. I can't deal with these clowns. And quite frankly, I think that, when you look at Jason Tatum and you look at Jaylen Brown, I think he looked at those two guys and said, we're not going to win with these guys either, because they're not. They're not going to win with this team. They got to blow it up. And I think he knew that. Jeff, comments?
Yeah, listen. They're finding they're strapped. They're strapped. And again, without a point guard, I don't know how you could take the next step. I still, and Marcus Smart's played better. And that's a good thing because his trade value hopefully has gone up where they can maybe flip him. And Robert Williams, who everybody was so enamored with because of a playoff game, which he blocked every shot last year, a play-in game, whatever it was. I still say you trade them both. You get value where you can for Robert Williams. He's untrustworthy as a player right now. He just is. Like, he's tantalizing with his talent level. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think Danny probably realized again that it had run its course here in Boston as much as anything else, that yes, he was not going to win another title here. And I think he also felt like he could help out Brad Stevens, give him another chance here, have a landing spot right now for his son, for Austin Ainge, who has a relationship with Brad, so he can stick around in Boston. So I think there were a lot of, listen, as you get older, he's 62 years old. What do you want more than anything? I'm 50. All I want to do is take care of my daughter. That's it. My career is secondary right now. So I'm sure Danny had the same thing here of like, how do I make sure my son is okay? Well, the best way to do it, he's already got a relationship with Brad Stevens. Brad's going to keep him on. Brad's the best human being in the world. He's going to keep him. So my son's going to be okay. And now if he wants to bring his son with him to Utah, he can do that.
I love the idea that they are actually in direct competition now, but we've seen enough of that. I mean, that happens. That's not that uncommon. It just happens to be the latest example. You know, we got the ultimate guy coming in town on Monday. He's not only coach his son, he's coaching his son-in-law and Doc. You know, so anyway, now Danny's name is gold in that community. I mean,
and it's gold here.
You can make a case.
It's gold in Boston still.
Yeah, it should be. That's
I get people.
Jeff, thank you for saying that, because I think it should be. Bob, do you think, you know how Jeff feels? Do you feel his name is gold in Boston?
In Boston?
Yeah.
I don't think it's negative. I think it's pretty, I don't know, gold, but I think it's a positive.
He did a great job. Like I thought he did a great job in Boston. And I kind of think the Kyrie thing, put a blemish on it.
He had them competitive every single year. Every year they were competitive for the most part, other than, again, when Brad first took over, which it was a mess. Yeah. And it had to be then. I mean, listen, he got fortunate with the Tatum trade. He did. He made the right pick with Jaylen Brown. That's for damn sure, because he could have had Chris Dunn, who's barely sticking out in the league right now, or Buddy Hield. So now he's had his mistakes too. We know that, but nobody drafts 100%. That's the problem I have here. It's like everybody's like, well, look at what he got with what's his name, Yabusele and guys like that. Yeah, like nobody gets it all right. No. He made some great decisions. Obviously he got Rondo years ago, and he made some bad ones. Gerald Green and other guys that we can go through. But for the most part, Danny Ainge, to me, was a very good exec who was always unafraid. And I know people will say, well, he hung on to the draft picks too long. Yeah, he did. He was hoping they turned into more than they did before he dealt them. But again, I like Danny. I think Danny's been a stand-up guy his entire career, whether it's as a player or as an exec, and again, been unafraid to make moves when he needed it.
If the only thing he did was what he did on draft night in 2007, he should be remembered finally, because he transformed the team completely that night, and following it up with getting Kevin, but he doesn't have Ray. He's not going to get Kevin. Right. So that's that. We know that. Anyway, no, nobody's perfect. And you have to. He's also it's the total package, Gar. I mean, he was a lovable player here, and maybe not in the rest of the league. That's fine. He was our guy. And I thought that rap was completely overblown. I really, truly, it makes it sound like he's a Brad Marchand character. I don't think so.
Oh God, no.
Although Brad Marchand, let me put in context, hockey fans, he's a better hockey player than Danny was a basketball player. Okay, I understand. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the negative side of Brad Marchand.
If Gordon Hayward doesn't get hurt in 2017, who knows? I mean, again,
they were playing so well 2 years ago when they went into January, February, and then and Hayward then goes down again.
I just don't know. Then you have Tatum and Jaylen Brown as supporting complementary guys who are growing at that point. And again, do I trust Kyrie to lead them to a title? Probably not. But who knows? Who knows how the chemistry is of that team that year? They certainly have enough talent. If you had a healthy Kyrie, a healthy Gordon Hayward, Tatum and Jaylen Brown as young players that have some experience, man, it's hard to imagine much better of a team than that.
And then maybe Kyrie buys in. Guys, we got to wrap it up. Thank you very much. Guys, we'll talk to you again next week.